Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 11 and compare it against the iPhone 17 and see which particular iPhone is the better one for you. Now, clearly the iPhone 17 is like the better iPhone in every single way, but it's still kind of interesting to see how both these iPhones kind of compare. But if you want to pick up some iPhones that I would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular iPhones. The iPhone 11 originally came out back in 2019, and on the front side of this particular iPhone, you're basically getting a 6.1-inch Retina IPS panel on it. So it is kind of like an older, outdated type of panel. It's an IPS panel. It doesn't get super bright. The resolution is like 750p. You're getting thick bezels on it, a notch, and a 60 hertz IPS panel. So it is a little bit, outdated, so to speak, when it kind of comes down to it, right? That is kind of one of those things to keep in mind, but it's not a super insane thing to keep in mind. But I will tell you, it is a little bit of an outdated panel. And if you're buying a phone in today's standards, you're definitely going to be noticing that this thing just doesn't really look as good as like the current generation screens, especially on something like an iPhone 17. This phone is basically going to be giving you a 6.3-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this panel has a couple of things going on for it. It's bigger than the iPhone 11, it's a higher refresh rate at 120 Hz, it gets brighter than the iPhone 11, it's an OLED display which looks nicer, way less bezel, and a dynamic island versus the notch. So definitely the iPhone 17 looks so much better than something like the iPhone 11, and that is by far one of the coolest things going on for something like the iPhone 17 over than something like the iPhone 11. The designs are also slightly different when it comes down to it as well. The iPhone 17, you can kind of see, is going to be giving you this flat-sided phone, where the iPhone 11 is giving you this curved phone. Because of that, the iPhone 11 is much wider. It feels like a bigger phone than the iPhone 17, even though it's giving you a smaller display. This also gives you the action button versus ringer on-off switch there. On the bottom, Lightning port on the iPhone 11, USB Type-C port on the bottom of the iPhone 17, which is nice to have. On the other side, you're basically getting this camera button on the iPhone 17, which is always nice to have. You're getting that type of capability. Power buttons on both. The iPhone 11 does not have a camera button, but it does give you that SIM card tray, which is always a really, really nice thing to have there. Now, on the back side, you're also getting these dual camera setups. And look at how much bigger the camera is on the iPhone 17 than on the iPhone 11. You're getting a standard glass back on the iPhone 11. 17 is giving you this frosted glass back. Wireless charging on both, but the 17 does have MagSafe here. So those MagSafe accessories, MagSafe chargers work a lot better. They work in general on the 17 than on the iPhone 11. So definitely on the exterior, there's a lot of upgrades here, and going from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 17, you're going to be getting some really big upgrades for sure. Now, when it comes down to their price tag, this is the one advantage for the iPhone 11. This phone probably costs around probably like $100 and something right now. These things are fairly cheap. They don't really cost that much money. So that is kind of the main advantage for something like the iPhone 11. The iPhone 17 is retailing for $799 for the base model. It does come with 4 times the amount of base storage as the iPhone 11 base model. So that is also something very nice to keep in mind here. But for $799, it is a pretty expensive phone. It is about probably 4 times the cost of a used iPhone 11. So you're going to have to kind of keep that in mind as well. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these iPhones. The iPhone 11 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 17 has that newer updated Apple A19 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one's the faster iPhone between both. Okay, there we go. All the applications are cleared out in the background, so let's get into it. Phone calls 321, and the iPhone 11 is here, the 17 is here. That was a pretty big difference. Music 321. And the 11 actually doesn't feel super slow, but you can see from loading up these applications, that was a pretty big difference from just those two. Photos 321. Okay, another pretty big difference. Camera 321. Okay, let's go and get into another one. Mail 321. So the 17 is doing a much better job, but also one other big thing to keep in mind here too is that with the iPhone 17, it's also a much smoother experience. Even though it's faster, which is really nice, the 11 looks to be a lot more, looks to be like glitching up a lot more than something like the iPhone 11. So, sorry, the iPhone 11 is glitching up a lot more than the iPhone 17. So, that is kind of one of those things to keep in mind. So as you're kind of using your phone on an everyday basis, definitely going from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 17 already is going to be a pretty big difference. But also, when you're comparing a 60 hertz panel to a 120 hertz panel in real life, that's when you're going to notice these big differences. So that's kind of one of those things, right? Like if you're using one of these phones, you're definitely going to be noticing that type of difference for sure between these types of devices. Now, surprisingly, the 11 was faster there. I don't know why the iPhone 17 was slower, maybe because it was on iCloud, but that usually is not what's going to end up happening here for the most part. Let me go and load into some bigger games. So we can try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1, and you will probably be able to see that there's going to be a pretty significant difference when it comes down to the performance. So this one has that downloading config thing, but even at that point, even if it just got into the loading panel, it still would have been faster on the iPhone 17. The loading screen, where there was like one slight glitch, but it really wasn't that crazy. You can see even getting into the game wasn't like a glitchy experience, so to speak, but getting into the game here, so you can see on the iPhone 11 it glitched up significantly more than the iPhone 17. So that is kind of what you're going to expect when you're getting into these games and these types of applications. Not only is it going to take a longer time to load on the iPhone 11, but it's going to stutter a lot more and it's going to glitch a lot more when you're actually getting into the game and using it on an everyday basis. So even that, you can see, it did glitch up a little bit there even to get into the game. And there's going to be those ever so slightly small differences between the two. So definitely, I would say the iPhone 17 is so much faster. It's so much smoother, as it should be. There's like a 6-year difference between these. So I'm very happy with the progress Apple has made here. And definitely it's going to be a faster experience on the iPhone 17 for sure. Now, when it comes down to their cameras on the backside, it's also another important thing. They're both giving you these dual camera setups, which are really nice. They're both, good cameras. They are very similar in some ways, but the 17's camera is way better. Now you're getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back, so you might think that the cameras are similar, they share a lot of similarity. That's not even really the case, because the iPhone 11's camera is significantly a little bit older, as you can imagine. This type of phone is still giving you an ultra-wide camera, 0.5x. It's also giving you 5x zoom, which is good, but it is missing out on a lot of features we have nowadays. It doesn't have cinematic mode, it doesn't have, center stage capability, and it doesn't have dual recording mode, which is the 17's core features. But let alone that, you're also not getting as nice of a lens as something like the iPhone 17. So that right there is also going to be another slight small difference when it kind of comes down to it from that side. With the 17, I feel like this camera is still very, very good, right? It's obviously very good. You're also getting that camera button right there, which is nice. Now with this camera, you're getting 10x zoom, so twice the amount of zoom as something like the iPhone 11. You're still maintaining that 0.5x zoom on the outside. Cinematic mode, all these other modes. You're also going through and getting that newer center stage capability, which is really nice, as well as that dual recording mode, which is also very cool. So the iPhone 17 definitely wins when it comes down to the camera side, as well as software. The iPhone 17 is going to last significantly longer in that software department than something like the iPhone 11. So when it comes down to it, the iPhone 17 is a really good upgrade coming from the iPhone 11. This phone is giving you a high refresh rate, better battery life, USB Type-C, better performance, a longer lasting phone, better camera. You name it, this phone is basically giving you that in every single way. But it is also $800. The iPhone 11 is a little bit of an outdated phone. It's the oldest iPhone on iOS 26, and it's definitely showing its age for sure. But you don't have to necessarily spend $800 on an iPhone 17. A lot of the things that I listed that are better on the iPhone 17 than the 11, you can get on like an iPhone 15 Pro or even like an iPhone 14 Pro. If you upgrade from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 14 Pro, that phone is like $400 something in the used market, and that is also giving you a lot of similarity, especially a 15 Pro. If you get a 15 Pro, this thing's giving you USB Type-C, that might be better, but what I'm saying is you don't have to spend $800 on an iPhone 17. You can spend $400 or $500 on an iPhone 14 Pro or 15 Pro and still get probably like 90% of what the iPhone 17 is. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.